Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Thank you for joining me here for the Taz Effect with daily news in a way you didn't realize you could use. All right. Okay, let's see. Donald Trump Jr. claims Latinos in the U.S. would be grateful if Trump liberated Venezuela. They escaped that crap once. Does he think that every Latino, you know what? You know what? The Baron of Booty Meat Booger Sugar? Of course he does. Donald Trump Jr. agreed with the claim on Wednesday that all Latinos in the U.S. would be grateful if his father liberated Venezuela as tensions linger with the U.S.'s deployment of troops and assets of the South American country's coast. Speaking on his show, Triggered, Trump Jr. said that immigration votes go one way, and there is a reason for that. Some of the most patriotic Americans in the Latino community I know are from Venezuela. They vote for Trump because they escaped that crap once. They don't want to do it again, and frankly, there's nowhere else to go, Trump Jr. added. He's acting as if there's only two countries, two land masses on this entire floating third rock from the sun, Venezuela and the United States. There are plenty of other places to go. Now, there are a lot of reasons why people will vote against their best interest. All of those reasons lead back to white supremacy. But there are people that are quite comfortable with what Trump is doing right now because they have survived it once. And they're looking at Trump as a diet dictator. He's not as bad as what they came from. So they're okay. They're like, yeah, this ain't so bad. Trump has reportedly ended all diplomatic outreach to Venezuela, instructing envoy Richard Grenell to cease all efforts as he grows frustrated with authoritarian President Nicolas Maduro's reluctance to relinquish power. You're getting frustrated with other people acting just like Trump. I would say I'm shocked. I would say I'm shocked, but I'm not because there are so many people who proclaim to be anti-Trump, and when you listen to them say the reasons why they can't stand Trump, and then you look at them, they're blind to who they are as a person. Trump is also frustrated that Maduro keeps rejecting any ties with drug cartels. The New York Times added officials told the outlet that the administration has drawn up multiple military plans for an eventual escalation. I thought Trump was supposed to be the president of no wars. Yet he's trying to wage war everywhere against everybody. With a highly underqualified staff. And before you go, I wonder if MAGA is willing to sacrifice. Yes, and we know that. Yes, we know that they're willing to sacrifice their own. Not so much themselves, but definitely their own. We watched them do it during COVID lockdown. We watched them lie to their friends and family members. With this new measles outbreak, we watched them sacrifice their own, even their own children. So, yes, they are willing to allow their sons and daughters, their husbands, their wives, their friends, their sisters, brothers, cousins, etc., to go to war, lose their life, or lose their able bodies and their stable minds. Mm-hmm. They are. So far, the U.S. military has conducted at least 4 strikes on vessels it claims were trafficking drugs that would ultimately end up in the U.S. However, some of the new plans could also seek the ousting of Maduro, the outlet added. Tons of drugs are going to end up in the United States, and it has nothing to do with leaders outside of the United States. Let me repeat that back to you all. Tons of drugs are going to end up in the United States, and it has nothing to do with leaders outside of the United States. Have you learned nothing? When the United States is telling you to focus on something and blaming someone else, it is a confession through projection. How many times do you have to wait decades for documentation to be unredacted and released for you to realize the biggest enemy of the United States is the United States? We have too many television shows, y'all love those, that are ripped from the headlines that continuously show you all that the biggest enemy, the biggest perpetuators of the divide that you all like to have all these think pieces about, is the United States. Hexa's firing of naval official compounds culture of fear inside Pentagon. And this is another reason why this is a horrible idea right now, to keep trying to posture towards other countries. Like, they can see us. We are the Truman Show for the rest of the planet, because we like to be on center stage. The United States thrives on being the main character. It's better just to keep your heads down, one senior defense official said. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's last firing of top Navy official injected a fresh wave of fear into the Pentagon over the cost of speaking up and who might be next. The Pentagon chief, in less than a year, has purged a handful of the military's most senior officials, terminated some of the closest advisors, and last week warned a gathering of generals and admirals that many of them could face a similar fate. The sudden dismissal last week of John Harrison, the Navy Chief of Staff, has only added to concerns about Hegseth's objectives, according to 5 current and former defense officials. Most of his moves have come without public explanation and led to a deepening sense of uncertainty throughout the department, one that risks silencing pushback on critical decisions that affect how U.S. military interacts with the world. There's an emerging culture of fear. There's a culture of intimidation and retaliation, and said a senior defense official. It's better to just keep your head down and not necessarily try to do anything to the advantage of the organization, because it's very much run from the top down. The decision on Friday to fire Harrison, who had emerged as an unusually powerful top aide, underscores the turbulence inside Hegseth's Pentagon. Harrison had worked to overhaul the service through a rapid-fire reshuffling of its bureaucracy. He and Navy Secretary Pete Phelan took aim at the office of the Navy Undersecretary, seeking to curb the role of the service's number 2 civilian leader even before he arrived at the Pentagon, according to 4 people familiar with the situation, who, like others in the story, were granted anonymity to discuss internal dynamics. This did not sit well with the nominee Hung Cao, a former GOP Senate candidate from Virginia who has deep MAGA connections and White House ties. He won Trump's endorsement in his failed 2024 Senate bid. Stop asking the question of how we got here. For someone to be disappointed that they didn't get something because they worked diligently to get close to Trump and be placed in his sphere should tell you any and everything. It doesn't matter if it's Trump or anyone else. We have sat back for too long and allowed this to happen. We have allowed mediocrity to continue to flourish. We've known for far too long how the systems were set up. But too many like to sit back and go, oh, it won't matter if I don't protest. They're going to get their money anyway. I'm still going to watch my football. I'm still going to get my insert here. So why do people need to actually educate themselves, actually hone their talents or anything else? It's just a matter of who you know. We have gone from networking for the sake of being able to put yourself in front of the right people so people can see that you're talented, to see that you're putting in the work and that you belong in these spaces, to screw doing the work. Just put me in the space with these people and I'll prove to them that I can be the bestest friend they never had. Supreme Court ruling could let GOP add 19 House seats and clear the path for a one-party system. Before we go forward, verbiage is important. Verbiage is very important. And before you go, well, Taz, you know what they mean. Verbiage is important. One, stop calling this treacherous country America. It is the United States. Okay? Yes, you are American by virtue of the continent, just like people are European by virtue of the continent that they are on. But when in regards to speaking of the specific country that you hail from, you are a United States resident and or citizen. Number one. Number two, the United States is not under a two-party system. It is a two-party majority system on the federal level. There are a multitude of political parties. There's one that pops up virtually every 2 to 3 business months. There are political parties that have withstood the test of time and still exist. There are a multitude of political parties that are running city, township, and county governments, and even state governments to this day. Because all of this, we've got to get ourselves out of a two-party system, is why we ended up where we are now and why there is always so much infighting and pulling back and forth. It's not the case. But let's continue. As the Supreme Court prepares to rehear Louisiana v. Calais on October 15th, Democratic voting rights groups are sounding the alarm. In a new report reviewed by Politico, Far Right Action and Black Voters Matter Fund warned that the scrapping Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act could enable Republicans to redraw up to 19 House seats in their favor. While a ruling in time for next year's midterms is unlikely, the organizations behind the report said that it's not out of the question. Taken together, the groups identified 27 total seats that Republicans could redistrict in their favor ahead of the midterms, 19 of which stem from Section 2 being overturned, Politico reports. Doing so would clear the path for a one-party system where power serves the powerful and silences the people, Black Voters Matter Fund co-founder Latasha Brown said in a statement. Only because you all choose not to vote. Overwhelmingly, you choose to only vote when the presidency is at stake. And even then, too many of you all convince yourselves that somebody else's vote will cover yours. You convince yourself that your vote doesn't matter, and then you spend the next 4 years bitching, moaning, groaning, and complaining while actively handing your power away. But then wanting to do nothing to correct the damage you helped cause. We will have record breaking voter turnout and then people not do it. The United States is the only place that always loves to screech and beat their chest about their rights and rarely utilize them. You love to talk about how powerful you are, how much of a boss you are, how nobody can tell you nothing, and how nobody can make you do anything, and you a strong blah 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 that don't need nobody for nothing. Evidently, you need somebody to think for you because you're consistently giving everything away. Other countries have things better than we do because everybody steps up. Even if they don't agree, they make sure their voices are heard. They do not fight against organizations and entities that are there for their benefit. Historically, the report warns that as many as 30% of congressional Black caucus seats and 11% of congressional Hispanic caucus seats could be redrawn out of existence. Historically, Section 2 has served as the enforcement mechanism that allows plaintiffs to challenge voting maps that dilute minority vote strength through racial gerrymandering. If Section 2 is gutted, states could redraw lines without fearing federal challenge on race dilution grounds. I've said this to you all before. I'm going to say it again. Maybe this time it will stick. Black people, especially Black women, are the litmus test for this country. They sit back and watch you be comfortable with things being done to other people, and they slowly start mixing you into the fold. You sat back, you had excuses, you had jokes regarding Texas. You only had a problem when California said, we'll do it too, but we'll just put the measure on the ballot. And here's the thing. You're like, well, I'm not Latino, I'm not Hispanic, I'm not Black, so it won't affect me. Do you live in an all homogeneously white area? No? Guess what? You will be swept up in it as well. Indiana Republican Senator rips Biden for 2020 census, calling it a fraud. Trump was president. Republican Senator Jim Banks is asking the Department of Commerce to review and possibly redo the 2020 census, believing former President Joe Biden miscounted data to benefit Democrats, despite the fact that the census was conducted under President Donald Trump's first administration. And the president doesn't count the census. Like, y'all have lost the plot so bad that you keep forgetting. You keep forgetting that the people, we the people, run everything. We run it. This is why other countries are scratching their head looking at the United States right now. Republican Senator Jim Banks is asking the Department of In a letter to Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick sent on Monday, Banks claimed the Biden administration used a shady privacy formula called differential privacy that scrambled data and allowed undocumented immigrants to respond to the survey. In all technicality, everybody is supposed to respond to the census. But we're going to ignore the fact that just ahead of the census, it was placed everywhere in like a blitz to the Asian community that, hey, y'all, hey, as many of y'all that buy into the model minority trope, you're helping us dismantle affirmative action that benefits you as well. We're going to give you this lucky opportunity on the census and official documents, but not in reality in any way that's actually going to benefit you. We need you to help us white folks, and you get to identify as white for the purpose of statistics only. Why do y'all think white people, especially those that refuse to deconstruct, love using statistics and nothing else? The 2020 census was fraud, Banks wrote, claiming the results gave Democrats congressional seats and potential electoral votes. But the decision to use differential privacy in the census and collection of census data was completed under Trump's first administration. The Biden administration only published the first data report in April of 2021. Banks's ex post soon generated attention from people who clarified that Trump was president during the 2020 census. They don't care. They just want to rile up their base because they're banking on everybody being stupid. And even though stupidity and utter ignorance are great short term for them and them staying in office now, it is not good long term on anything because they've riled you into this anti-immigrant stance, anti anything marginalized, anti anything anyone melanated. They've convinced you that education is bad while they're clamoring to do any and everything to ensure that their children are the only ones that are educated, but they've given their children no work ethic and no desire to actually put in a hard day's work. They've taught their children what is the number one rule of business? Use somebody else's money, use somebody else's labor for any and everything. So you keep dumbing down society. Who's going to be the workers? Who's going to be the innovators? Who's going to be able to maintain just the status quo that we have now, let alone advancing anything to keep up with the global markets? See, racism is very, very short-sighted. Very short-sighted. There is no longevity. There is no sustainability. Why do you think you'll see an influx of people joining these white supremacist groups, and you'll see a resurgence, a rebirth, a rebranding of the Triple K, and then all of a sudden it trickles down because there's no sustainability. This is why they won't truly publicly come out with their full face and chest. This is why when they comment things egregiously and you ask them, why don't you use your name? Why don't you? Well, because people try to ruin lives. There's no sustainability. There's no foresight. You would think after all of these years, all of these generations, they would think, maybe we need to fine tune this. Maybe we need to tweak this. Maybe we need to at least make sure that our children could sustain the economy. Because the second rule of racism is everybody can get it. Everybody can be used, abused, and exploited. And the third rule is, as much as a racist hates the rest of us, they hate each other more. You think I'm joking? They believe that there can only be one. This is why I say Taylor Swift, Donald Trump, and Nicki Minaj are all the same person in different fonts. Because Taylor Swift right now has put out so many different variants of her below mediocre project. It's ridiculous. And she's doing it because she wants to be the only pop girlie on the charts. She does it each and every time. Nicki Minaj flips out because she wants to be the only rap girlie out there, and she wasn't the only one when she came on the scene. And for the love of all things holy, can y'all stop acting as if she's a pioneer? She's not. She is everything that you claim that Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion is. That rugged individuality that is attached to white supremacy, it goes deeper than the conversations that you all have. You all keep looking surface level at things, thinking that that's going to provide you with a solution, and it's not. That is like looking at the tile in your bathroom be saturated with mold, and you think that by spraying the top of it with Lysol and taking one paper towel and wiping it off is eliminating it. It is not. But you don't want to dig deeper. You don't want to dig deeper into any subject matter, because to truly do that, at some point you're going to have to dig deeper into yourself. And to do that, you're going to have to reconcile with the hypocrisy and the contradictions that you hold. You're going to have to change the fact that you are more selfish than you will ever be selfless. That what you are demanding of the world, you won't give to anybody. That the only person you have respect for is yourself. The only person that you see as human is yourself. Yes, there are outliers to everything, and if it don't apply, let it fly. If you start hollering and you a hit dog, I'm going to have to ask you to get your leash and walk yourself down to the pound and go chill with the rest of the puppies. And a lot of things, we're changing the names of things like, oh, this person thinks that they have main character energy. This person is selfish. And a lot of times, the main girl isn't a girl. A lot of times, the main girl isn't a girl. And if you think I'm joking, bet y'all should be at this point in time running to unions in droves. You should be community building like no other. Your time should be spent collecting bricks and building communities brick by brick by brick, even in your selfish state, even before you've done all of the work, if just to protect yourself. Because here we go. Ford employees have been told they could be fired if they don't follow the company's RTO mandate. Ford ordered the majority of its employees back to the office 4 days a week in September. Before the new policy came in, some workers got emails warning they may be fired if they didn't badge in more. Multiple employees said they got the emails despite complying with remote work rules. What you know, the obsession in having people come back into brick and mortar building dates back to chattel slavery. It's just having ownership and control over you, because it is more economical for everyone involved for certain positions to be done remotely. Just like it costs more to onboard a new employee than it does to sustain a current employee, it costs more to have people try to adhere to a dress code, go through traffic, pay for lunch. You're paying for building rent, building insurance, utilities, all of these things, property taxes, for people to do what? For people to do what? And a lot of times it's when there's no clientele coming to the brick and mortar. There's no paper files being kept at the brick and mortar. Ford is the latest company to crack down on working from home, and some employees say they've been told they could be terminated if they don't comply. In June, the Detroit automaker told employees they would be required to come into the office 4 days a week from September 1st. Ford said the move would help boost growth as the company tries to transform itself into an affordable EV powerhouse. How would that boost growth? If you want to be able to assemble the best of the best and you want to cultivate a good company environment, make everything remote. Because you can have the best of the best working for your company if they don't have to physically relocate. Because there's a multitude of reasons why people don't want to or can't move. Like there are parts of the United States that will not work for me to live. It would not be conducive to medical conditions that I have. Other, I just don't want to. I'm allergic to racists, and I don't want to be in a large concentration of them. Since announcing the policy, Ford has sent some employees emails telling them that they are not badging in enough and warning that they could face termination if they do not improve their attendance. Three current and former Ford employees told Business Insider. So, you want to help boost growth and turn yourself into an affordable EV powerhouse. How are you going to be affordable when you're about to increase your accounts payable with new onboarding and heightened utility bills? That does not equate to more affordable electric vehicles because you're not going to eat the cost. Two said they had received these emails despite complying with updated office attendance policies and having previous work from home arrangements signed off by their managers. While many of Ford's Michigan based teams have been in the office 3 days a week since late 2024, other divisions maintained a more flexible approach to working from home, two current and former employees said. Here's the thing: what is the point? What is the point? What is the point? Whether going in one day, unless there is something that you physically need to be there to learn, to see, to it, what is the point? What is the point? There are two companies that I do business with. Twice a year, all of the subcontract, we do have to physically show up because there's paperwork that we have to sign in front of a notary. That's one time. And the second time, there is physical in-person training that they want us to go through with their products so that, like myself being on the IT side, I can properly market it on the website for them. So I can make sure that, okay, when I get this, that's not, the best picture. That's not the best this, because I've seen the product. I've seen these things up close and personal. It makes sense. Other than it, what? Why? Deconstructing out of racism, racist ideologies, and the comfort that racism brings people benefits everybody, because I don't believe you all realize how many inconveniences, inconsistencies, and just things that are making your life dastardly are because of racism. And still those remnants of chattel slavery. This is why I chuckle when people go, well, nobody you know is a slave. Really? Because you all are quick to equate something that makes you uncomfortable to slavery, to being a slave. And a lot of times you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But to say none of you are slaves, to say none of you know what slave, look at each other. Because if you're a slave to nothing else, you're a slave to this indoctrination. And the fact that you want to keep holding on to it. Now, U.S. could dismiss air traffic controllers who failed to work during shutdown, Transportation Secretary says. We love throwing money away. We do. We don't want to do right by people. We have a president and a Speaker of the House that keep floating the idea, and various members of the GOP stating that, oh, furloughed employees, da 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 da, we may not give them back pay, depending. And we know what the dog whistles around that mean. So these people are supposed to just miss checks. We're supposed to act like they just got hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank to keep moving forward. You expect them to work for free. The same people who on any given day always talk about you're not doing volunteer work. Don't ask you to do this if you're not getting a check. Like, that's the whole reason why you applied for the job. Yeah, let's fire people in a niche career field that already has issues, is down on recruitment. And even those that have been recruited, there's decreased numbers in people who can pass the training, and they're already having attendance problems when people are getting paid correctly. And this is also a career field that holds people's lives in their hands. Let's play with them. Let's play Russian roulette with them. U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, more reality TV kickback. And I'm not saying that you can't come from a reality TV show and be a great person. There are people who have used it as a stepping stone to get into the places that they want to be. He ain't one of them, though. Warned on Thursday that the government could dismiss air traffic controllers who repeatedly failed to show up for work during the government shutdown, saying the spike in absences is causing significant air disruptions. Yeah, you should have figured that out from the last shutdown under the Trump administration. Then, that people they're not working for free. That's called volunteering. Nobody signed up to be stressed out on a volunteer basis. So, yeah, they're going to call out to do other things, especially in a time where you can do gig jobs. There are multiple apps. You can sign up and within a few minutes to a few hours be making money. And just like the last shutdown, some of these people are never coming back to that job. Some of these people have been working in those careers for so long that they forgot that they can make money with reduced stress, that they can make money and have at least a guaranteed base minimum that they can bring home and not be played with like the government keeps playing with them in their funds, especially with the second Trump administration that has been playing with people's employment since January 20th of this year. If we have a continual small subset of controllers that don't show up to work and they're the problem children, if we have some on our staff that aren't dedicated like we need, we're going to let them go, Duffy said on Fox Business. I can't have people not showing up for work. Well, just because you show up doesn't mean that you're showing up for work. We don't need people unqualified telling us what to do and what not to do and playing with folks' livelihood. They're not the problem children. This administration is. Duffy praised the 90 to 95% of controllers who are showing up daily despite not getting paid. Could be me. It's a small fraction of people who don't come to work that can create this massive disruption, and that's what you're seeing rippling through our skies today, Duffy added. The National Air Traffic Controllers Association did not immediately comment on Duffy's remarks, but has repeatedly urged controllers to keep working during the 9-day-old government shutdown. The union told workers that participating in a job action could result in removal from federal service and is illegal. You think they give a damn? There is a criminal sitting behind the Resolute desk. There are two other certified criminals in the Trump administration that we know of. You think threatening something? And everybody knows the Trump administration's track record in court. It's not that good. I know y'all think that it's better than it is because y'all focus on the few things that you view as a win, which really have not been. No. Trump in court is not a winning situation for him or anybody attached to him. The U.S. has faced an air traffic controller staffing shortage for more than a decade, told y'all, and many have been working mandatory overtime and 6 day weeks even before the shutdown. The FAA is about 3,500 air traffic controllers short of targeted staffing levels. They keep promising people more money for these jobs and all this. What good is it if you're just working? Who's supposed to enjoy the spoils of this? And what amount of this is being put back into the economy? Because if the only thing you're doing is existing to work, you're just paying your bills. How much are you really contributing to the economy by filling up your gas tank if that's what you're doing? You don't have time to shop. You don't have time to go out for a movie. You don't. See, this whole convincing people that it's a badge of honor, it shows how adult you are that you're working all of these hours. That doesn't really help our economy. You have to participate in the economy to help it. If all you're doing is working, sleeping, some of y'all not even showering in between, how's that helping the economy? Air traffic control staffing issues during this shutdown have emerged earlier than the last major halt to government funding in 2019 during US President Donald Trump's first term, leading to unexpected shortages in cities around the country because they already know how this is going to go. And Trump keeps, he has to have a camera in front of him and he has to posture. He has to try to threaten people to try to keep them under control. And he keeps forgetting people have options outside of him. They're not going to sit around and take it. And air traffic control positions are stressful. They're already overworked. And you want them to continue to be overworked for free? In 2019, during a 35-day shutdown, the number of absences by controllers and TSA officers rose as workers missed paychecks, extending checkpoint wait times at airports. Authorities were forced to slow air traffic in New York, which put pressure on lawmakers to quickly end the standoff. They should have never started the standoff. And once again, people had a little bit more patience the last time because there was a little bit more time since the last shutdown. This is too close. Remember, and they're like, I'm barely recouped from the last time. I'm not doing this again. And this is once again on the heels of Doge and everything that went along with that. And people willy-nilly being fired from federal positions for any and everything, not being loyal enough to Trump, not being willing to break the law for Trump, not being willing to step all over, piss and shit all over the Constitution for Trump. Having something on your desk during the previous administration and somebody finding out about it can get you fired. What makes y'all think that these people are showing up to work? All the way around, the United States is showing that it never sees subordinates as human. But you want subordinates to come through and worship you. This is why I chuckle when they go, we're all a big family around here. I need y'all to realize family does not mean the same to everybody. To some people, family just means free labor. Okay, now there were a handful of people I saw discussing this. Fact check. Is Tiger Woods suing Pete Hegseth for $50 million? In October 2025, social media posts began spreading a story that claimed professional golfer Tiger Woods sued U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth for $50 million for, questioning the golf legend's integrity during a Fox News interview between the two. Prior to his fall 2024 nomination as Defense Secretary, Hegseth spent 7 years on Fox as a Fox News host. The story spread through multiple popular Facebook posts and also made its way to other social media sites such as Threads. Some posts contain text reading, and this is just a direct quote. Beaten, beaten, pay now. Tiger Woods sues Pete Hegseth and network for $50 million after shocking on-air attack. What began as a routine interview quickly escalated into a full-blown showdown. Pete Hegseth directly attacked Tiger Woods, questioning the golf legend's integrity and calling out the system Woods is accused of representing. But Tiger didn't flinch, known for his composure on the green. Woods proved once again he's unstoppable under pressure, turning the tables on Hegseth's incendiary remarks. The result? A $50 million lawsuit against Hegseth and the network, shocking viewers and sending ripples across the sports and media world. Social media erupted with support for Woods, heated debates about accountability, and speculation about the fallout for the late night host. Hegseth wasn't a late night host, he was a weekend host, number one. Number two, he wasn't a sports reporter. And why would, now we know that lawsuits don't just happen overnight. Okay. But why wait this late if that did occur? And isn't it funny that the same base that's not about wokeness and all this other stuff would be gobbling this up and sharing it? The story was entirely fabricated. Not only was there no evidence the lawsuit existed, but there was also no reason to believe the interview ever took place. Searches for Tiger Woods sues Pete Hegseth on Google, DuckDuckGo, Bing, and Yahoo found no credible news media outlets reporting on the supposed lawsuit. A search for videos of Tiger Woods' Fox News interview did not return any recent Tiger Woods interviews on Fox News. Prominent news media outlets would have widely reported this rumor if true, and it's likely Fox News would have made a recording of the video available if one existed. Such an interview was extremely unlikely to take place in 2025, largely because Hegseth stopped working at Fox News once Donald Trump, then the president-elect, nominated him as Secretary of Defense in November 2024. As of October 2025, Hegseth had not interviewed anyone as a network host since then. The Facebook post linked to advertisement-filled blogs, likely in an attempt to generate revenue from the inflammatory rumor. This pattern follows a formula commonplace in fake stories about celebrities posted to Facebook. This particular rumor was nearly identical to another posted to Facebook around the same time. According to that version, professional golfer Rory McIlroy apparently sued Hegseth and Fox News for the exact same amount and over the exact same comments. The Facebook post about McIlroy also linked to a blog post posing as a news story, just like the post about Woods, and described an interview similar to the interview described by the blogs targeting Woods. And this is why I say it's funny, because the people who generally engage with stuff like this are the people who cheer on these types of interviews. But also, let's stop acting as if things like this flourish on Facebook because of older people being on Facebook. We all know that's not true. We all know that's not true, because there's pretty much every age bracket on Facebook, and every age bracket falls for the BS, shares it, and everything else. So let's stop acting like it's older folks that are just falling for it. Now, are there older people who fall for the okie doke every single time? Yes, because there are stupid people in every generation. And if you don't do anything to correct your stupidity, you'll start off a young fool and end an old fool. But there are also people who are not. I want y'all to think and stop treating certain people as if they are children and you need to mansplain or adult-splain things to them as if they are a small child. You're going to tell me that people who have lived through things far more horrendous than what's going on now, that have had to adapt to all sorts of technology, can't critically think. And some of y'all need to reconcile with the fact that the people who raised you are dumb as shit. And stop projecting that onto everybody else. And you might take this, you might try to come out the bag on me. I don't care. Some of y'all like to take from those smarter than you, but you're intimidated. So you try to knock them down a peg by trying to explain things to them. It's not doing what you think it does. And to close out for today, Trump labels Democrats insurrectionists as he threatens Grim Reaper vow to start cutting American jobs in 4 to 5 days. Yes, there was a trend to today's show. There was a theme. President Donald Trump hit out at Democrats with a rapidly partisan attack during a meeting with a foreign leader on Tuesday, dubbing the opposition party as insurrectionists and threatening to give his budget director free rein to slash government jobs and programs as he answered questions alongside Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney in the Oval Office. Trump was in the middle of a long-winded soliloquy about the benefits of his big, beautiful bill, tax cut, and spending package when he laid into Democrats for having opposed the legislation. I was greatly helped by our Speaker, Mike Johnson, and by the Senate. I'll tell you what, John Thune has been, both of those guys have been incredible because these Democrats are like insurrectionists. They're so bad for our country. So their policy is so bad for our country, he said. The same man who pardoned insurrectionists. Trump was also asked whether his administration intends to honor a law he signed during his first term, the Government Employee Fair Treatment Act of 2019, which requires furloughed workers to be paid at the earliest date possible after the lapse in appropriations ends. Although the law is clear on the subject, the Office of Management and Budget recently rewrote their shutdown guidance to cast doubt workers will be made whole after going without pay since last Tuesday. That's the analysis we were talking about the other day. Trump replied that it would depend on who we're talking about and blamed Democrats for having put a lot of people in great risk and jeopardy, while suggesting that some workers don't deserve back pay. Keep in mind, we are at a literacy and critical thinking and comprehension crises. Because once again, if they allow this to go, and once the shutdown is over, and they use this loophole to not pay furloughed employees, how long do you think that it will be until all of a sudden there are little mini shutdowns or layoffs at private entities and people don't receive back pay? For the most part, we're going to take care of our people. There are some people that really don't deserve to be taken care of, and we'll take care of them in a different way, he ominously said. Trump's implicit threat not to pay federal workers, despite the clearly written law enacted during his first 4 years in the White House, is consistent with a long history of failing to pay contractors and vendors during his many years as a businessman and hotel/casino operator. In 2016, USA Today reported that he'd stiffed hundreds of people, including carpenters, painters, dishwashers, and even attorneys who worked for him. Now, do you understand how he's ended up with the gaggle of attorneys that he has now? He told the newspaper at the time that he'd routinely deduct from what he'd owed vendors if he disliked their work. Sounds like the $5 rule for tipping. Not sure what that is, where people take out five single dollars and set it on their table and remove it when they don't feel that the service goes the way that they want it. And people who do that tend to act as if they are the only people in that establishment. But once again, that roots back to Reconstruction, Black codes, Jim Crow, where folks did not want to pay Black people. Yes, this is from the same man who put out a video of himself dressed like the Grim Reaper. They say that they do a good job that's not good, or a job that they didn't finish, or a job that they say was late. I'll deduct from their contract. Absolutely, Trump said. Can we deduct from his? Pressed further on whether federal workers will be paid as the law requires, Trump later told reporters, I follow the law and what the law says is correct. Here's the thing, with all the people that Trump has stiffed over the years, I am quite shocked that more of them did not come up and become vocal, because they have all of the receipts, everything. The president's comments come on the seventh day of the first government shutdown since a 35-day lapse in appropriations during his first term. Hundreds of thousands of workers were furloughed or forced to work without pay starting 1 week ago when legislators failed to advance a Republican-authored temporary funding bill, with most Democratic senators stating that they won't vote for any legislation that doesn't extend tax credits to help approximately 10 million Americans purchase health insurance. So for those going, well, it's the Democrats' fault. How? The president is Republican. The House, Republican-led. The Senate, Republican-led. How is it the Democrats' fault? Trump has threatened to use the temporary shutdown to permanently gut programs favored by Democrats and fire federal workers who his supporters view as deep state members opposed to him and his administration. During his sit-down with Carney, he threatened to allow Office of Management and Budget Director Russell Vought to begin slashing things pretty soon when asked if he has a list of programs to eliminate. We have a lot of things that we're going to eliminate and permanently eliminate, he said. The president described Vought, a longtime GOP activist who was depicted as the Grim Reaper in an AI-generated video. This is what you're talking about, Nightbird. He posted over the weekend as a very serious person who is currently sitting there and getting ready to cut things. I also want to remind you that twice in this administration, a cabinet member has threatened or actually put hands on somebody. This is the administration that we're working with. And before you ask, no, this person is not Black. No, this person is not melanated in any way. No, this person is not from a marginalized community. When pressed further on whether there's a list of programs to cut, he said he'd be able to reveal it in 4 or 5 days if the shutdown continues. If it keeps going, it'll be substantial, and a lot of those jobs will never come back, he said. So if you're going to keep slashing things, might as well keep the government shut down. If you're going to essentially eliminate the government, what is the bargaining chip? How did you get any negotiating done? Oh, you know what? He did. Well, looks like I guess we'll be back on TikTok on Monday because they still have not answered my appeal, and I'm suspended until tomorrow at 8:30, I believe, 8:30 p.m. So, but tonight on YouTube at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, there will be conversations with Taz for Think About It Thursday. Hopefully see you then. If that is not your cup of tea, check out the link in my bio, click GCPR, and see what the lovely cast of characters is doing on Ghost Claw Productions Radio this evening. There's always a great conversation going on a plethora of shows that are offered by GCPR. Also, the book, the Anti-Racism Journal, is completed. I had to get at least 74 pages done. I did. It has been sent to the editor. Once I get it back, I will make the corrections that I need, and it will be sent off. And I will put up the link for you to be able to order, just so you know. Otherwise, if you want to help keep the lights on and keep things going, all of my pay links are in my bio, or you could purchase some merch or sign up for a subscription on Substack or on TikTok. And if you're not following me and subscribed with notifications on YouTube, please do so you don't miss any of what's going on. Other than that, as always, each one teach one, each one reach one. Thank you for joining me here. And as always, go out and get into some good trouble, but nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, that requires bail in this economy.